has this open wound in his heart, this unknowing of who he is, who his father is, where he comes from, right? He lost his mother tragically, and he's very connected to her through music. Again, that's a big part of his character and the distinctiveness of the series. And so he is able to be manipulated with people playing on that in him. And you can see that gets so dangerous for him and for all of his friends, because all of his friends almost die as a result of him allowing himself to be manipulated by this unresolved issue. And he almost dies as well, right? He almost turns into a battery for eternity to fuel, his biological father's conquest. And so I would say to people listening who may have experienced this in various ways, this may be hard to hear, but the way that we heal this is perhaps counterintuitive. The secular therapy culture will say we have to get our parents to apologize to us. We have trauma. You have trauma from your father or your mother, and you have to get them to apologize to you. The Word of God says, honor your mother and your father. And so the way that we heal that wound is to honor them. Now, honoring our parents does not mean, if they are terrible people, that we give them unrestricted access to our lives. That does not mean, that we, if your mother's an alcoholic or your father is a gambler or whatever, that you give your father money or your mom a drink. That's not what that means. It doesn't. If your parents, mess with your kids and say terrible things to them, it doesn't mean you have to invite them for Thanksgiving. But it means reckoning with the fact that this is your mother and this is your father, and God's commandments don't come with an asterisk. And by doing that, by truly honoring, this is where I come from, this is who I am, and God commands me to do this, because if I don't honor my parents, I'm not honoring God. That is what actually heals that and prevents us from being able to be manipulated. Coming into alignment with God's commandments and obeying them in the right and wise and discerning way heals that. And that idea runs exactly 180 degrees counter to secular therapy culture. And so to not be a Peter Quill, to not allow yourself, especially young men listening, to not allow yourself to be manipulated into groups of lost boys, to not be manipulated by demagogues who pretend to be fathers. The way you do that is you reckon with who your human father is, and you honor him in a discerning way. And that will prevent you from being able to be manipulated, which is a very real danger right now in our hyper politicized age.